After a successful college career and then winning a gold medal at the 1956 Olympics, Bill Russell had his sights set on the next level of basketball he could dominate.
I was all about competition. I understood that the best players would play in the NBA. I wanted them.
Craftsmanship is a way into what's best in yourself. The real mastery is always of yourself. That philosophy guided Russell to an unending desire for victory.
Did it hurt if you lost?
It depends. If, some nights you get beat, and the other nights you lose. If we lost, it hurt. I expected to win every night, though.
No, that
Well, first of all, I think a great player does not want to lose. You're in a game because you want to win, and you want to be one of the best in the game. And I still say today that then and now, Bill Russell is probably the best defensive player to ever play in the NBA.
This guy was like a computer on defense. He had every single player's moves down.
It was that evidence that he was, as I say, the last piece of the puzzle, and everything was in place now.
He basically got us over the hump on many occasions because, of his great versatility.
He had such great intensity that when the whistle blew and he came to play, and that intensity complemented the skills he had, he became, I think, the most productive center that's ever played the game.
To me, every play led to the next play. So that if I dunk the ball, the next play was, for me, would be the first one back on defense. That was, if I dunked the ball, that's only half a play.
He was so talented in blocking shots. Not only did he block shots, not to be a showman, but to make sure the ball stayed in bounds, where a guard or forward could get the ball, and it became a possession for us rather than giving the ball back to the team you blocked the shot.
He knew how to calibrate what he needed to, what he had brought to the table, which aspects of his game would help the team win.
Imagination and creative thinking are the realization that there's no particular virtue in doing things the way they've always been done. It is this philosophy that Bill Russell carried with him when taking the court and perfecting his craft.
When I was a young guy developing the way I played, I didn't know it at the time, but I was innovating.
Bill did it in a variety of ways as far as blocking shots, keeping them in bounds, running the floor. We just try to make everybody around us better, and sometimes you've got to be creative about it.
Bill Russell is an innovator, and one of the handful of great innovators in the history of basketball. He made the block shot not only a weapon, but an art.
It's really a beautiful game to watch when it's played well, because it takes great athletic skill. There is an art to it. Is that we took it beyond journeyman status and made it an art form.
It was a very different game that they played then. It was offensive based, and Bill came in and he changed all that.
Believe me, before this, there was nobody that did these things. Nobody.
The dynasty of the Boston Celtics began with what would become a lifelong friendship between two men who would soon be at the top of their field.
That was a magical partnership with Red Auerbach and Bill Russell, because I think Bill would tell you, Red treated him like a man, like a grown-up, like a smart person. That meant a lot to Russell.
Red became Russell's ally instead of his adversary, which a lot of coaches can do.
We approached each other as a couple of men that are going to work together. And that's the way I felt my whole career in Boston, was that Red and I were co-workers.
He knew when he had to push Russell, when he had to lay off of Russell, and I think Russ respected that a great deal.
Red says, listen, tomorrow morning when we start practice, I'm going to be all over you.
Yeah.
Don't pay any attention to it. See, if I can't yell at you, I can't yell at anybody. So next day, it's like I gave him an unlimited budget and he went over it.
I gave him
and listen, and so a few years ago, he says to me, you know, I really appreciate that you didn't get mad and you understood. I said, Red, I came this close to attacking you.
Red Auerbach recognized the innate intelligence, pride, and manliness, if you will, of Bill Russell, and knew right away from day one that he was not going to be interacting with Bill Russell the same way he did with anyone else on the team.
He'd say to me, can I miss practice tomorrow? I'd look at him, I'd say, what for? He says, I'm tired. Good reason. Guy's playing 46 minutes a game. I mean, he's not lying to me. He's a little tired, wants a day off, so what? What's the big deal? Well, these other coaches would go bananas.
And he truly understood how great Russell was. He gave Russell a basketball identity in not only Boston, but in the entire country.
I completely trusted Red Auerbach that he would not do anything at my expense to make himself look better. And I had that trust, and it was a bond.
The bond between Red Auerbach and Russell set the tone for the Celtics to become a true team. The most important measure of how good a game I played was how much better I made my teammates play.
All of us have egos. And my ego was team ego.
It didn't matter to him about individual statistics, but about the team.
We were his family, and he was like protecting us like a big brother would do at times.
You could just look into each other's eyes and get the feeling that, you know, you're with me, I'm with you, we can get it done, let's do it now. And, you know, that was a remarkable sensation to have.
And everything seemed to fit. And my impression was he was a great competitor. He wanted to win, and that was the main thing for all the Celtics, and we wanted to win.
The greatest thing about basketball is there's only one ball, and only one person can shoot that ball. So now you got to have a team that says, hey, we don't care who gets the points as long as we get the win. I thought the greatest words I've ever heard in the Boston Garden or away. Ladies and gentlemen, the world champion Boston Celtics. The world champions. That meant that we were the best basketball team in the world.
When you said NBA, people in the U.S. and fans around the world, the first thing they would say is Celtics.
Were individual awards ever really important to you?
No. I'll tell you, when I was a young guy, they might have been. I was first team All-American, averaged 20 points and 20 rebounds a game. And they picked another center as the player of the year in Northern California. And so that moment I decided that what I would do is try to win every game. And make that my agenda.
Bill means everything to the Celtics. When you walk into our front office, first thing you see really is Bill holding all of his rings.
He's an icon in a manner of no one else, because winning 11 championships in 13 years is just remarkable.
Plus an Olympic gold medal, plus 2 NCAA titles.
You associate the name Russell with championships.
And anybody that played with him or against him will tell you he was the main reason that all happened.
There were 21 times that Bill Russell played a someone's going home tonight game. His record is 21-0. The prosecution rests.
The bar was set very high when we got there, and all we could do is just do our best to win championships and pay and continue to honor Bill Russell, because he is the man.
Everything he did for racial equality, to fight injustice whenever he found it, wherever he saw it. Can't think of a better person to have a statue in Boston.
Because of Russell's success on the court, he was able to have a significant impact on society.
He lived a life that dealt with social change. I mean, we came up during a very difficult time in the 50s and 60s. America was quite different. Every day of your life you had to deal with being black and wondering why that was a negative.
Rebounding is about developing the highest level of resilience by changing the flow of the game from reaction to action. From reaction to action. Bill Russell was not a man who would stand to be disrespected in any scenario. He was unafraid to take a stand by himself or to rally the people around him for a just cause.
Was married in Indiana, and they gave us the key to the city. And then after the ball game, we all tried to go into a restaurant. They wouldn't serve the black guys.
All of a sudden, the empty tables became reserved tables. But Bill Russell is different. He got a taxi and took us to the mayor's house.
Picked up the keys at 2 o'clock in the morning, found out where the mayor lived, and woke him up and gave him the keys back.
Wanted to return the keys that did not open any doors, and this is the kind of fellow he is.
This strength of character helped Russell as he broke new ground in the world of sports.
What did it mean to you to be the first black management person in sports?
Well, it meant very little. In that, yes, it was not part of the equation for me. In fact, if Red had said that we're going to do this for that reason,
you wouldn't have done it.
No, I wouldn't have done it.
He was a significant personality in the sports world in a city that was having racial problems. And he stood his ground.
When I was asked about being the first black coach, I said it will only be important to me when coaches are hired and fired, and race is not one of the ways they describe it. You know, so that then it'll mean something. Until then, I'm doing this because at this point I'm the best person for the job.
Bill was always conscious of the underdog and always very conscious of what it meant to contribute to team in a team sport.
Most people think of Bill Russell as this great winner, and he was. I don't think people realize all the things that he pioneered.
Do you think that you will get some white kids to play basketball with Negro kids?
I think so. I don't see why not. My kids play with white kids, and nobody got hurt yet.
He stood up in times when it was very hard to stand up.
Red, any final words of advice to the new coach?
Win! When I think about Bill Russell being the first black coach, I think about Red Auerbach. Red didn't look at Bill as a black man. He looked at him as a man who could coach. Bill Russell allowed the rest of the world to know that if you're qualified, anyone can coach.
The most important factor is respect. In basketball, respect demands for his ability, period.
Without Bill Russell, I'm not coaching.
You know, I was here when Martin Luther King made that speech. I was in the audience. That seemed like so long ago. For us that were deeply involved, the changes were very slow. It's like walking down the street, one step at a time. I had met him at the March on Washington. In fact, I was invited to go on the stage, but I respectfully declined. My father used to tell me, for survival, black men had to understand white men to survive. But it was not true the other way around. And so you have to make your own way. What I tried to do was support all these guys.
Bill Russell came to Boston in 1956, and from that time forward through his career, he has stood up for civil and human rights and social justice. And every time he did that, it made America better.
Philosophically, all I've ever done was to try to never shame my father. The most important thing to me are the friends that I've made. The biggest honor I got playing for the Celtics is they made me the captain. And so I've always thanked my teammates for letting me help them be champions.
This is an amazing occasion. We're honored to be here to honor this great man, Bill Russell. Appreciate you coming back to Boston, and here's the statue.
When Bill Russell was in junior high, he was cut from his basketball team. He got better after that. He led the University of San Francisco to 2 championships. In 13 seasons with the Boston Celtics, he won 11 championships, a record unmatched in any sport. Won 2 while also serving as the team's coach. And so happens he also was the first African American ever to hold such a position as a coach in a major league sports team of any sort. More than any athlete of his era, Bill Russell came to define the word winner. And yet, whenever someone looks up at all 6'9" of Bill Russell and asks, "Are you a basketball player?" he says, "No." He says, "That's what I do, that's not what I am. I'm not a basketball player. I am a man who plays basketball." Bill Russell, the man, is someone who stood up for the rights and dignity of all men. He marched with King. He stood by Ali. When a restaurant refused to serve the black Celtics, he refused to play in the scheduled game. He endured insults and vandalism, but he kept on focusing on making the teammates who he loved better players. Made possible the success of so many who would follow.